Hi everyone, welcome to this interview by Core Recruitment. Thank you very much for joining us today. Core, if you're not aware, is an international recruitment company, and we're recording a leadership interview series looking at lots of different characters from lots of different facets of companies that we work with currently. We've met entrepreneurs, we've met business leaders, we've met chair people from all over the world. So they're all listed on our website, which is www.corerecruitment.com. Now, today we're very lucky to be joined by Jon Noonan. Hi, Jon, how are you?
Not too bad, Christian, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us today. Now, Jon operates a company called Thorns Group, which has been going from strength to strength in the UK for the past couple of years, and also has a very interesting new enterprise that he is launching also, which is a global kind of model. So we thought it'd be great to jump on and have a conversation about both businesses and a little bit about how things are growing and developing. That's a very impressive piece of art you've got behind you there, Jon, as well. I've got to ask a little bit about that. Are you sitting in a hotel, or is this at home, or what is it?
No, this is at home. And the story behind that is actually, it's a very interesting one. So it's quite dark to start an interview with, but that's called Dunks Fest by Night. And it is to celebrate a good friend of mine called Duncan Wallace, who died during COVID. And because of the restrictions that were in place, we could only have 20 people at his funeral. So I thought that wasn't acceptable. So I actually put a festival on for him as a memorial the following year called Dunks Fest. And he was an exceptional individual. His job was to produce Elton John's Apple Music radio show. It's called The Rocket Hour. So we put together an event called Dunks Fest, and we had Elton John do some pieces to camera. We had Marvin Humes host it. We had Jax Jones doing live performances. We had a whole host of sort of the other artists that he worked with across his career do various things at the event. And we had a live art installation, which was this. We actually presented one to his wife, and then I engaged with the artist to do one for us because we loved it so much. So this is for him. So yeah, so that's why it's sort of pride of place, really. So that is Dunks Fest by Night in memory of my best friend Duncan Wallace, who unfortunately is no longer with us.
Well, that's a very sad but very amazing tribute and story. That's I'm definitely going to ask that question more because it's it's more interesting than I bought it at a gallery. You know, I think
Yeah,
that's incredible.
probably
So
wasn't what you were expecting, but
yeah, exactly. So to get us kicked off, let's do this sequentially and start with Thorns Group. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, Thorns Group, the business, that would be great to get us kicked off.
yeah, so Thorns Group is a large furniture provider, so for exhibitions and events in the UK and Europe. On the event side, the events that we sort of tend to take care of are those large scale events. So right at the moment, we're in the middle of Wimbledon, Formula One Grand Prix, Royal Ascot. Then we do quite a lot of the PGA stuff, the golf side of things, as well as a whole host of other sort of venue side, like Twickenham, etc. On the exhibition side, we supply various exhibition organisers and venues across the UK and Europe. Yeah, in a really good place, really good business model. I bought it in COVID, and we've invested really heavily in stock to give breadth and depth to the range. Like anything, you can never own enough furniture. Everyone wants something different, but as it stands, we've got a really good range and depth of stock for that, and has seen significant growth over the last 5 years. So, yeah, really interesting business. Challenging in so many respects, but a business which is in good growth, and with the things that we can see for the next 12 and 24 months, will continue to be in significant growth over the next 2 years. So.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about minus 45 dB and where the name comes from in terms of your new venture.
Yeah, so that was when you're starting. It's really hard. Thorns Group is a legacy business, so it's been around 75 years. So, and obviously that carries some really good weight, some goodwill from the industry. With the new venture, minus 45 dB, it was really hard to sort of try and land on what that, what the name is. I mean, it's literally come out of my head. Like everything to do with that business has come out of my head. We've got a really good team around us now, but sort of when it first started, it was trying to land on something which would get, I suppose, resonance in the industry, which is, I suppose, sort of like trying to make it quite cool, quite disruptive, as opposed to being obvious. So we do have challenges around people understanding the name, and I'm okay with that because I think it gives you the ability to explain. But fundamentally, the brand is minus 45 dB, and that is the level of sound reduction that we achieve when we put them up. So it's a sound reduced modular structure company, which is also a bit of a mouthful. But we offer modular sustainable spaces in exhibitions and events which are sound reduced.
Wow.
So you can think of so many case studies which we can come on to, or use cases for that. But the level of sound reduction that we are able to achieve within those temporary structures is 45 decibels, or up to, and hence the name. So, yeah, it does exactly what it says on the tin, sort of a Ronseal type thing, really. But you just got to explain what dB means and what the minus 45 bit means. But apart from that, very Ronseal.
And you've scaled this pretty quickly because you're in multiple countries and regions kind of like already, right?
Yeah, and truth be told, we're actually slowing it down this year. So, I mean, if we were everywhere that we've been asked to go, we would probably be in maybe 7 or 8 countries. It's scaling quick. So we're currently in the UK. We've got a full setup in the UK, which services the UK and Europe, and we have a full setup in the Middle East, in Dubai. So there are current locations, but I mean, we've been asked to. There's so many countries that we've been asked to go to and set up, notably the States. I mean, we've been asked by numerous people over in the States, and we were actually sort of looking at perhaps venturing into that this year. The way things are going in the Middle East has somewhat hampered that, because obviously the conflict that's going on there has hampered that somewhat. But the States was going to be next. I mean, we're talking India, Nigeria are two areas where we believe there are going to be, I suppose, sleeping giants, the next sort of places that seem to be the next places to grow. Doing quite a lot of stuff in Saudi at the moment. So yeah, I mean, it's growing quickly, and we're going where the demand is. So we are being sort of pulled into these places, as opposed to necessarily saying this is where we see the business. So yeah, kind of gearing it around that, really.
Amazing. Now, flashing back to kind of like your background, kind of like prior to this, because it's not exactly been a linear career, kind of like in the exhibition kind of space. Because you started off life as like a nightclub promoter, and then there was lots of festivals, and then you went into corporate world.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit about your background and experience?
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely never thought I'd be owning a furniture company, that's for sure, to start with. And then that certainly didn't mean that I would thought I'd be in like temporary structures. But my background was, yeah, absolutely said, at university, promoted nightclubs. So a friend of mine set up a nightclub company to student nights. And we grew that from 1 night a week in Leeds up to, I think it was around 25 nights every single week across 15 cities. And that was really sort of like mass market. If you think Chesney Hawks, if you think, the really uncool mass market stuff across all of these student cities. But a really good grounding for the events. And I think, like anything in events, is you kind of fall into events. I don't think anybody wakes up and goes, right, I'm going to go, like, I want to be in events. So kind of fell into it. And then as that progressed, I thought I was too cool for Chesney Hawks and big nightclubs. So I then went on to more lifestyle stuff around Gatecrasher. So putting on festivals like Prodigy, Chemical Brothers, Hot Chip, Mark Ronson, Tiesto, Paul van Dyk, sort of that trancey side of things, and spent a load of years in festivals, either attending them or putting them on or being involved in that lifestyle stuff. And then, unfortunately, within that world, there are a whole host of characters whereby they are. It's quite a cutthroat industry. It's quite areas of grey, which I found quite challenging, particularly when you learn quite a lot from some of those relationships around, not getting paid and all that side of things. So then thought, the more corporate route was the way forward. So I started setting up sales and marketing structures within high street brands, your likes of jonglers nightclubs and things like that. So sort of went down the consultancy route around setting up and using all of that knowledge from previous worlds to set up more corporate structures. And then that led me into a full service business, which did power, light, AV, distro, catering, and sort of the full gambit of events. And then realised, didn't realise we were having a baby, and that was a few, 2.25 hour commute each way every day, and thought we needed something closer to home, and that's when I came back into furniture, and then so it's been a bit of a I didn't think I'd ever be in the service side, supply side, but it feels like that was a move into something which was still event related, but less exposing, I suppose. It felt more like I was going to get paid at the end of the month as opposed to getting done over by ruthless promoters. So, and that's how we got into Thorns Group. Wow. And then within COVID, Thorns Group, the old holding company went into administration, and I bought it out of administration and have traded it since then. And then layered on to minus 45 dB. So that was a product that I was working on 8 years ago, and managed to launch it finally. I think it was version 31, I think we brought to market. And that was a couple of years ago now. So yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a journey. It's certainly not, like you say, linear for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like buying over kind of like a legacy business, which is 75 years old. I mean, that must have been pretty interesting within itself, especially kind of like, during COVID. Did you know what you were getting into? Were there any surprises when you got into the business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think that I have knowledge of the business before. So I was a commercial director of the business before, so that helped. But I think the thing with legacy businesses is that it's trying to understand what are the good bits and what are the bits that need to change. And that can be quite challenging because, some of that is that, some of the people that we have within that business are the best people within the industry. So trying to keep hold of those when you're going through something like COVID is quite challenging. One of the best decisions we made was keeping hold of all of the core staff.
Yeah.
Because really that's what makes a business. Fundamentally, the asset of furniture, you can buy that. I mean, it's how do you get it from point A to point B? How do you manage client expectations? All of that, sort of like the engine behind it, is the important bit. So that was a really interesting sort of journey. But then the other piece around sort of goodwill around, what does a brand look like? Do you change the brand too much? How quickly do you change it? So I made the decision to just keep it as it was for sort of 12, 18 months and then do a full rebrand as opposed to doing it straight away, which was a conscious decision because it didn't feel like the changes that I'd made or wanted to make were done. So it didn't feel right to change the brand and then make the changes. It felt like I needed to make the changes to then change the brand, almost to reinvent what it was. But that's quite challenging when you've got 75 years of history there. And also 75 years of either doing well or making mistakes. And that is also challenging. We're trying to get that across to clients that no, things are different, or yes, they are the same. And they're two different sides of the same coin, if that makes sense, because some want it to be the same and some want it to be different. And he's trying to reassure those in different ways about what we're trying to do with the business, about what I'm trying to do to bring it along. So that was challenging for sure. And then obviously coupled with that, the most challenging piece was taking a business which was zero revenue generating for 18 months, which is what it was via COVID, opening up to Silverstone Grand Prix and trying to scale with fundamentally, if you remember back then, lorry drivers were absolute rock stars. They were getting paid like 150 grand a year with signing on bonuses. And trying to deliver one of the biggest events. It was the biggest event that year when you haven't traded for 18 months or over a year, from March 17th through to the July following year. That was challenging in itself. Trying to get back to service levels was really challenging. I mean, there's so much to unpick across air conditioning. It's like I could literally probably do 2 days on that. But yeah, there's a load of stuff that's learned, really, really exciting. Yeah, loads of challenges, but it feels like we're we've made on the whole the right decisions.
Nice. Now, I always think that the events and exhibition sector is a really good bellwether of how the rest of the economy is kind of doing in terms of like across that kind of that industry. What would you say the biggest challenges are facing the sector at the moment?
Should we talk politics or?
Take it where you want to take it.
um, and I don't think this is per se like strictly like directed at Labour. I think we've had successive governments where I'm not sure that the hospitality industry has been treated with the respect or regard that it deserves. And I think, without talking about COVID too much, it was really evident in COVID, and it feels like nothing's changed since then. So the geopolitical situation at the moment, both sort of like locally but globally, because obviously I've got business in the Middle East, which is a separate challenge. But in the UK, I don't think that people actually understand the hospitality industry. I don't think they understand what it does for the country. I don't think it understands what it does for GDP. I don't think it understands what it does for Labour, for like, as in not the political party, but actually the Labour force. So I think it's been challenging since 2016. As soon as we did Brexit, then that led into COVID, and it feels like right now that we haven't really recovered from there. Even when you start looking at the VAT breaks, which have only just come back in. It got announced last week, I think, didn't it? Where they're only starting to take things seriously. When you look at other countries and the way they trade, they see the hospitality industry completely differently. So you look at the Middle East, there's a whole program to support. They know that hospitality drives there's so many levers, and they really back it. Whereas I think the challenge in the UK is that it's not seen like that. It's not seen with the gravitas. And I'm not just talking B2C sort of restaurants. It's that B2B market around conferences, exhibitions, congresses, large scale events. I don't think that's taken seriously either. So I think that's challenging at the moment. And until we get a government that sort of really understands it or wants to back business in the hospitality space, I think it's going to continue to be challenging. That's what I'm seeing at the moment.
Absolutely. I think that's a challenge for a lot of people. And thinking about like how you're running the business at the moment, obviously it's almost like you've got two kind of like separate hats on, but how are you managing cost pressures and budgets? And I mean, even I imagine your clients are looking for better value for money all the time as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's quite a lot of the strength that we've done in the business is around efficiencies. So as you know, we cannot pass on all the price increases that we get because simply it would make us uncompetitive. So we can only pass on a percentage of those.
Yeah.
So the way that we structure things is around what efficiencies can we create within the business to allow us to create the margin, because the margin in furniture is it's not as good as other spaces like graphics or electric or whatever it might be. So we have to make sure that we're running a really tightly run business and finding efficiencies wherever we can. So that means in literally every aspect. Are there systems and processes that we can put in place to create efficiency so it reduces the amount of double handling of data, or is there specific programs that we can build to support with transport and logistics? AI, we are trying to dip our toe into just to understand how that impacts our business and how we can utilize that in a way that isn't. I think one of the best things about the exhibition, event, and hospitality sectors is the people. So trying to find a way that you can utilize AI without removing what is the heartbeat of the industry, which is the people, is a challenge. Because I don't want, we could get robots, and it's genuinely we could get robots. It's not what we're about. It's kind of like we're about the people. So it's how do we sort of, I suppose, find the right path through all of that? But it's all about efficiency for us. So the constant conversations we're having at a senior level is what efficiencies can we create, and then how can we cascade that through the business to try and get everybody to think about efficiency.
Absolutely. Now, you've spoken a lot on stage about environmental impacts and better supply chain choices when it comes to sustainability, that kind of like side of things. The event industry isn't always known for its kind of sustainable practices. Could you give us a little bit on your thoughts on this and how you guys operate slightly differently?
Yeah, and I think that I say this quite a lot, and the most sustainable event is don't do the event. right? So, and people look at me as if I'm mad when I say it, but there's a challenge. I think there's so many challenges around sustainability, but I think if we look at it and we say, look, events inherently incur issues with sustainability because you are either flying lots of people into one location to do an event. If it's a B2B, you are getting lots of lorries on roads. You're transporting lots of food. Like, everything about it is you're creating these things which don't exist. So to do that, we've got to accept that there's going to be challenges around that. And interestingly, I was on a board a few weeks ago on a panel, and what we don't do enough of is understand that the ESG criteria, there's lots more to that social element. So the fact that we're creating these events actually works for us in ESG around the sustainability side of things. But you remove that and the practices that I look at. So minus 45 dB as a business is the most sustainable solution on the market globally. I've got a patent granted in the UK, patent pending in Dubai, Saudi, America, and Europe. And we know we are 80% more sustainable. We spoke to and engaged with Green Circle Solutions and got them to do a comparison for the Keir Starmer event that we did. We did all their private meeting rooms a couple of years ago. For Keir Starmer, Donald Tusk, Zelensky, every single European leader had their meetings within our structures. So we did a case study on that and proven that the system that we use is 80% more sustainable. Goes back into stock, time on site is way less people going to site, less lorries, all of that side of things. On the furniture side of things, we can't get away from stuff on like lorries on the road. If you want to get a table from one place to another, you've got to put it on a lorry. And the way that we do that is our stuff is inherently more sustainable because we use it on multiple shows. So we use it on as much as possible on as many different events as possible. So that gives us some extra credentials around sustainability stuff. And then what other things can we do within our business to try and support that and push the journey on? And that's where we get into the detail around LED lighting. And you're playing at the edges then, really, because we are one small part of it. So collectively, it's kind of like we will do everything that we can. And then somebody might come in and put 5,000 meters of fabric, which is not sustainable in any way, shape or form. So I'm quite conflicted to the sustainability journey. Like, we are on that journey 100%, but I think that we need to put some context around what it looks like within the industry, because like I said, the most sustainable event is don't do the event. I mean, we've tried that. We did it on Zoom. We did it on Teams during COVID. And as soon as we open back up, everybody, again, human nature is they want to interact. They want to see, they want to touch, they want to feel, they want to engage. So there needs to be that, I think, to it. And the challenge is when people start greenwashing stuff and saying that they're doing things for one reason, just to tick a box, opposed to sort of being honest about it and just acknowledging that we're in an industry whereby it's challenging, and we just got to confront that head on and make the right decisions to try and push that sustainability journey as far as we can.
100%. Now, coming back to your journey, your leadership style, that kind of side of things, like, how would you say that your leadership style has kind of changed from just managing sales teams to kind of running two businesses with multiple operations in multiple countries?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I used to run a sales team of 150, and it was so that was the overall sales team. I was probably responsible for, say, half of that. There was 22 venues in London that I was responsible for. So say it was a sales team of maybe half of that, so 75 people. And it was a meticulous, well-drilled, by numbers on spreadsheets, and you knew every single metric for every single thing and managed by that. And it was high pressure, high intensity, like exceptionally high intensity, low acceptance of failure, high turnover, because people were you just performance managed to the nth degree. Now as a business, I'm so much softer now, in the sense that, not softer, but I suppose more willing to give time, which I wasn't before. And it's been a big journey for me, because I still want all of that performance side of things, but having sort of being across multiple facets, finance, ops, sales, marketing, it doesn't give you the ability to be able to be in that level of detail anyway, which is why you appoint the people to do that on your behalf. So I've gone from being driven by that really down to the people, and it's kind of like, for me, it's all about the people, and then hopefully all of that will come out of appointing the right people. So it's a step away from that really high intensity boiler room environment into a more I want my businesses to be fun, engaging, disruptive, softer management style, lead to, as opposed to direct, and employ the right people and empower them to do the way that they want to do it, as opposed to thinking that necessarily my way is the right way, because I get a lot of stuff wrong. So let them make the decisions, and hopefully make better decisions than I do. So
Excellent. You mentioned kind of earlier on that you don't think anyone's kind of born and decides that they want to go into the kind of like event sector, or kind of like, like as their number one choice. But if you were starting out today in the events world, what advice would you give? Or like what advice would you give back to your younger self, or somebody who's watching this who's maybe at the start of their career?
I think for me, it's passion. And I think that whether it's event sector or anywhere else, that I think particularly with event sector, if you're not passionate about it, and if you don't love it, and whatever that is, Christian, events draw you in. There's nothing like events. There's nothing like working 100 hours in a week and then delivering an event and going, God, I'm never going to do that again. And then another brief comes in, you go, oh my God, that's really exciting. Let's go again. There's nothing like that. I don't think there's any other industry where that exists. So unless you love it, you're not going to survive. So I think that for me, it's go into it if you love it, because there's no way it's going to change. So I love events. I think they're absolutely amazing. I think they're absolutely fantastic, irrespective of, I used to deliver events. Now I'm on the other side where I'm supplying to events. But you've got to love it. So long as you love it, I think you'll be okay. It's that challenge when, if you don't, that's when the animosity, the toxicity, all of that stuff starts coming into it, and it probably affects like what you're trying to achieve. I'd probably suggest that you probably look elsewhere, because we know it's all long hours, irrespective of whether it's hospitality, live events, exhibitions, or there's that deadline, isn't there? Whether it's we have to open at 1 o'clock to deliver a lunch service, or you've got to open at 9 a.m. on the the Monday morning to deliver an exhibition, or Silverstone Grand Prix has got very specific deadlines that they've got to hit, where if they don't, then this car's not going to be racing around tracks. So unless you like that pressure, I'd probably look elsewhere.
Absolutely. And final question, in terms of like, so in theory, we jump on this call again, 3 years time for a bit of an update on what you've been up to. Where's Thorns Group going to be? Minus 45 dB. What's your plan? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah, I'll probably be on the beach in the Bahamas, having sold out. I think that I'm just launching a new part. It's fundamentally a new furniture company called Curated Collection, which is going to be a sister company to Thorns Group, which is around really high end furniture. So sort of Timothy Alton, Soho Home type look and feel of furniture. So to see that business, I think Thorns Group will be the leading furniture provider within the UK and Europe for events. I would like to have all of the large-scale events in the calendar, and deliver exceptional events on the exhibition side, and Curated Collection to be a fantastic addition to that business. Minus 45 dB, I think, would be, so long as we can get the Middle East conflict to a place whereby we're all happy again, then having that footprint, the UK footprint, and there'll probably be a couple of other businesses or legal entities in different countries. Likely to be the United States, obviously, and then probably one or two others. I think that would probably be a good vision of success for the next few years.
Love that. Or the Bahamas, one or the other, Sean. One or the other.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I'm not sure which one's better, to be honest, but
I'd go Bahamas. I'd probably go Bahamas. I don't know. I don't know. Up to you. Your call. Excellent. Well, listen, thank you very much for hopping on and having a chat with us. It's really great to get some insight about the business and what you guys are doing. And I want to see how many other companies you get to open up in the next 3 years as well, right?
Of course, yeah, maybe.